Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right. Welcome back. It's Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio, coming to you live from the Ardea Condominium Towers on the south waterfront of the Willamette River in beautiful legal Potland, Oregon. I'm your host, Radical Russ. Glad to have you here. Our phone lines are open at 9. Oh, nope. Almost did it. I caught myself. We got a new phone line. It's not the one that he says in the intro. I got to get the intro fixed. I got to get a new intro recorded because we have a new phone number. It's 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's 650-534-2565. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, anything, topics you want to discuss, I'm here for you, and I'll give you the mic. The phone number, 650-LEGAL-MJ. Thanks for joining us. We got so much Stoners Against Legalization to cover. OMG. I'm actually kind of giddy. I'm kind of thankful for people like Dragonfly de la Luz in an odd sense, because it gives me so much to work with. And I have people sometimes that criticize me on this. They're like, Russ, why do you give these people any oxygen at all? Why do you pay any attention to them at all? And the reason I do is because I'm fighting for every single vote we can get. I don't want legalization just to win. I want it to win big. I want it to get such big voting results that it makes Kevin Sabet cry. I want to just flush his career down the toilet if I could possibly do it. And everybody else that's a prohibition profiteer for that matter. But I get criticism because they say, well, these people, they're just a tiny fringe minority. Hardly anybody knows anything about them. But I disagree with that. I think they are a tiny fringe minority. But I also think there's a large enough group of cannabis consumers who are interconnected in this network that we call the cannabis community, especially online through Facebook friends, through Twitter, through where they go to get their weed at the dispensary, handing out flyers or whatever it might be, conversations at the club, whatever it might be. But there's this network of people, and most people aren't nerds like I am. Most people aren't, policy wonks that give a shit about elections and stuff. It's very, very, ephemeral to them. It's just not something they're paying a lot of attention to. And I think they can be swayed. In initiative voting, the tendency is, when in doubt, vote no. And the only thing you need to do to create that doubt is to generate a little bit of fear, a little bit of confusion, make things seem too complex. And the next thing you know, you got, these younger tokers that are paying attention to this kind of stuff. You got them voting against their own best interest. And it happens in such little ways. It's like the death by 1,000 cuts, right? It's the little Facebook comment here, a little, picture meme there, a tweet here and there that set into motion and set into people's minds these concepts that are false concepts that get passed on like a little game of telephone from one tweeter and one Facebooker to another. And before you know it, among a decent-sized group of the cannabis community, you got a whole conspiracy theory that evolves. They're only trying to legalize marijuana to give it to the 1% and let Monsanto control the world. Okay. We'll get into that right after the break, plus taking your calls right here live on Toker Talk Radio. Stay tuned.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Legal to listen to all over the world. We're just not sure about France. CannabisRadio.com.
Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
Previously on the Stoner Jesus Show.
St. Peter auditioning to be the Microsoft weed software spokesman.
Hey, this is St. Peter for Microsoft. They track weed. Does that mean they're going to track the weed? Is that what this is about, Jesus? I'm not going to be tracked, Jesus. I'm not going to have my fucking weed tracked, and I'm not going to have fucking Microsoft track me back to my fucking house through my weed to where they fucking spied on people with that goddamn Xbox camera. Fuck this. Fuck Microsoft. Fuck this bullshit.
The Stoner Jesus Show, live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Or find the Stoner Jesus Show podcast on demand at CannabisRadio.com and StonerJesus.net.
Peace, bitches.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are diving headlong into the thicket of illogic known as Stoners Against Legalization. And it should be clear to people by now that it doesn't really matter what legalization makes the ballot. It doesn't matter. These people would be against it. They see in every initiative, in every coalition, in every nonprofit organization, in every donation that makes its way to legalization, all they see is a big conspiracy theory. Big conspiracy theory where the Monsanto and George Soros and the 1% and the Bilderbergers and the Freemasons and whoever else, the Bilderberger group, let's throw them into, where everybody's, it's all a conspiracy, it's too good to be true, all it's going to do is make things worse. And I'm going to be posting on this over the next few days, but I did my first post today. It's all at weednews.co, and I was just reading the misquote of Vivian McPeak by Dragonfly De La Luz. And so I went to the post and I was just following up on it to find that we got some comments. And it's so perfectly crisp. I love it when I make a point about somebody being a batshit crazy tinfoil asshat, conspiracy theorist. And then someone jumps in and does exactly that. Just proves my point. So we got this comment. Came in from Ruben Hernandez about an hour ago. I'll read it to you word for word. ALMA, and by the way, when I say ALMA, it's Adult Use of Marijuana Act, AUMA, ALMA, which is Prop 64. Okay, so it goes like this, quote, ALMA was intentionally written by some very clever attorneys to create a slush fund under the governor's control. What this means is that none of the revenue from marijuana is going to go to the public schools, community colleges, cities, and counties. It will all go to the new bureaucracy which ALMA creates, including salaries, pensions, staff, etc., and to law enforcement. End quote. All right, well, first of all, yes, Prop 64 is written by some attorneys. We're consulted on it, and I'm sure they were very clever. But as far as a slush fund, the meaning of which would be, just a money that they can appropriate for anything, anytime, anywhere, under the governor's sole discretion is quite inaccurate. And as far as no money going to schools or colleges or the cities or counties, again, quite inaccurate. But I didn't have the time to get into the full-scale debunk of this comment because I just saw it. So and I could go pull up, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act and find all of its tax code stuff and how that's controlled and make the case. But you know what? I don't really even have to. Let's take Ruben Hernandez's comment at its face. Let's assume he's right. Let's assume that we legalize marijuana and the schools don't get any money and the colleges don't get any money, the cities, counties don't get any money. How would that be different than now? How much money from marijuana taxes are the schools and the localities getting now? Yes, that's right. Zero. Zero is the correct answer. So even if Ruben Hernandez is right and the schools and the localities end up getting zero from Prop 64, they're no worse off than they were before now, were they? And okay, so the tax revenue goes in and allegedly runs a bureaucracy. So, you know what? I much prefer the money being spent by the state of California on some sort of bureaucracy is spending it on some sort of bureaucracy that runs legal marijuana rather than one that imprisons people for it. That was my response to him, basically. I said, yes, Ruben, it's all a huge conspiracy to make the cannabis consumers' lives worse by not fining them for possession, by not imprisoning them for cultivation, by giving them a store to shop for weed in, and by giving them a pot lounge to smoke it in. Just like Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, where life for marijuana smokers has degenerated into a living hell. And that's the other thing, right? When Dragonfly and these No on Prop 19 people came out in 2010, you could at least give them the small sliver of credit that marijuana legalization had never happened, and what we were predicting was all just that, predictions. There was no firm evidence as to really what would happen. Well, now we've got 4 states that have legalized. So these doom and gloom, sky is falling predictions of what happens when cannabis is now a legal commodity that businesses and corporations can be involved in, that prediction can be tested against 4 states that have already done it. I know Colorado's got a lot of money going to their schools. I know Washington's got some money going to their schools. I know Oregon. I know we've all got money going to our schools. Now, Prop 19 is written, or Prop 64 is written differently than those initiatives, sure, but I do believe it's going to get some money to the schools. But even if it didn't, it's no worse than where we were before. And why do I give 0.2 of a tick's turd where the tax money goes? Now, I'd like it to go to schools. I'd like to go to all sorts of places. But lots of my tax money goes places I don't like it. I'd like the federal government to refund me an Iraq war, and a few billion in oil subsidies would be nice. So we don't always, get what we want as far as where our tax money goes to. But why would that be a deal breaker for you when right now you're subject to fines and imprisonment? I don't understand this. Well, I do. I can almost guarantee you that this Ruben Hernandez character has a medical marijuana card in California and has been enjoying the dispensaries and the quasi-legality for years now. And he probably figures, why rock the boat? Why change things? Part of this also comes from something that's kind of inherent in the outlaw mentality and the hippie ethos that is the foundation of our cannabis community. There's a natural distrust of the man and capitalism and Babylon and the 1% that permeates much of our cannabis culture. So I think for some of these folks, they see medical marijuana as being the Rebel Alliance, as being the grassroots, as being the real cannabis people involved with it. And what they see from marijuana legalization is losing their little special place in the world. Losing their little corner on their cornering of the market of this plant. Knowing that the big players coming in have the money and the talent and the skills and the resources to outperform these people. They've been used to being a big fish in a little pond. They're not so happy about the idea of moving out to the ocean. That's what's underlying a lot of this Stoners Against Legalization stuff. You get these dispensary owners and these medical cannabis business people, finance people, putting all sorts of pressure on their staff and the people they know to keep the status quo, to keep their business model afloat. The business model that keeps pot just illegal enough to keep it at $300 an ounce, but makes it just legal enough to not really have to worry about the cops. That's what they want. And it's interesting, the quote that Dragonfly used from Vivian McPeak brings that point up, where Vivian says, I had thought that legalization would meant that we'd get to keep doing what we've been doing and not have to worry about the cops. I think that's part of the problem. I think that attitude is part of the problem. This attitude that somehow cannabis was a magical commodity, not subject to all of the conditions that are applied in a capitalist economy. These people wanted to keep their same clandestine growing with no regulations, no oversight, no taxing, no paperwork, and keep the drug dealer level profits rather than the price crash to what marijuana should actually cost, but not have to worry about that risk of getting busted by the cops, which is the whole reason why you get that expensive price and you get that, farmer lifestyle with no government oversight. There's no way we could legalize marijuana and not have it become a commodity like all others that big corporations make lots of. They mass produce. So that's just, it seems to me a bit of magical thinking. Now, it's not to say that there's not room for us to shape how our industry evolves, to have more inclusiveness, more diversity, to set higher standards. That does not to say that we can't do those kind of things. But to outright think that somehow cannabis was going to be the utopian hippie ideal that is free from being sullied by Babylon, I think is a bit naive and utopian. And personally, I welcome the corporate weed. Go ahead, make it.
You don't scare me. I got chunks of guys like you in my stool.
All right, folks, it's 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone. Time for us to take our union-mandated safety briefing. We'll be back with our live call-in number. Our phone is 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's 650-534-2565. We're back after these commercials.
Being green is good. Growing green is good. Making green is great. CannabisRadio.com.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every day. Medical marijuana is my last resort, and it helps me when all other drugs have failed. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
The Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment.
Okay. Maybe you're high, too.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Yarr! Thar be pirates here! Har, 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 har. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 23 after the hour. Hope you had yourselves a great safety briefing. We're discussing the Stoners Against Legalization and some of their talking points designed to frighten and confuse cannabis consumers into voting against marijuana legalization. It's a hell of a thing. We've been covering it for years. Our phone lines are open at 650-LEGAL-MJ. We're going to go to those phones right now because we got a call from my home state. The area code 208 is on the air. How you doing? Welcome to Toker Talk Radio.
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
So tell us. Yeah, I was going to say, tell us your name and what you're calling about.
My name is Ben Fortner. I'm living in Ontario, Oregon right now. I'm right on the Idaho border, actually. And I'm running for city council. I'm here with a NISA, Oregon city council candidate, William Nance.
Oh, excellent.
And we are trying to figure out how to get cannabis more legal out here on the side of the state where they're making secret backdoor deals and not a lot of accountability here. We're trying to shed some light around on different issues.
And tell folks your name and William's name again so they can make sure they got that clear.
My name is Ben Fortner. I'm running for Ontario City Council. And my friend here is William Nance. He's running for NISA City Council, NISA, Oregon.
Gotcha. Okay. And this is great because I grew up in Nampa, Idaho, which is about 35 miles east of where you guys are at. And I remember back in the day, we used to drive to Ontario because it was the closest place you could buy a pot pipe.
Yeah.
Is it still, I mean, is Ontario and
Yes.
NISA, that Eastern Oregon area, basically still got the same attitude about marijuana?
Same attitude about marijuana. And then now Huntington, which is 30 miles down the road from Ontario, further from Idaho, they opened up the first legal medical and rec dispensary.
Yeah, is that having an effect on
quite well?
Is that having an effect on the issue in Ontario and Nissa? Because I heard there was a Eastern Oregon newspaper expose on Huntington showing how it was saving the town and rescuing businesses and raising taxes. Is that resonating out there in Ontario and Nissa?
We're hoping so. We're hoping we can use that as a major example and as a talking point for getting some things changed around here.
Do you think the people are ready for that change?
Yes, I believe the majority of the people are. I think that a lot of people are ready for the old brother secret society, hobnobbing things with the secret backdoor meetings with the Idaho police and the Idaho law enforcement, and having that be the major influencer for the decision. I think that time is over.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now you're alleging here that the Idaho State Police are collaborating with your local officials to set policy?
With the local policymakers, yes.
All right. And this, of course, Idaho State Police has been complaining that, since we legalized, their pot seizures have gone up 1,000%. So what are they trying to convince these Eastern Oregon towns to maintain bans and to narc out people that might be coming over?
That's the way I understand the situation, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, so you're running for the Ontario City Council. Who are you running against, and how is the campaign going?
There's 7 of us that are running. The campaign's been going really well. A lot of the young people that I've spoken with, a lot of the people are ready for change around here, and to get rid of those old ways of the secret meeting.
Yeah.
So I felt like I've been really well received. There's 2 incumbents, Norm Kroom and Marty Justice, who are running, and I feel like the incumbents have had a lot of time to show where their priorities are, and that they haven't been priorities that are in our people's best interest.
Now, when you win this seat on the city council, how many city councilors are there, and will you be in a minority? Will you have any other allies on our marijuana issues?
There's 6 city council members and a mayor who vote on these kind of decisions. I'm not sure whether we have any allies or what the prior situation was, but I'm hoping with some fresh light on some of these really relevant issues, including the money, including patients' needs for access.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to turn them around even if we are in a minority. The common sense it's time for common sense, Russ.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. Hey, could we get a chance to talk to William for a second?
Sure. Thank you very much. Here he is.
You betcha.
Russ.
William Nance out there. Nissa Needs Nance is the campaign. Is that right?
That's exactly right, Russ. Hey, it's good to talk to you again, man.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, great. I got to see William out there in Nissa my last time back through Idaho, and what a great place you got out there in Nissa, surrounded by the onion factories and all. It's quite a sight.
Well, it is an industrial area, and with, of course, the industrial zoning, there are certain privileges in Oregon on that. But, hey, getting back to it, Nissa Needs Nance. Got a really good campaign going. There are 4 city council seats available, 6 people running, and it seems I've got the back of the Chamber of Commerce, and a lot of folks in town are kind of little bit weary of the same city council that's basically been sitting for 16 years. And so we got a real good chance to at least make one more seat, a voice of people.
Yeah. So as if you make it to the city council, what are some of the concrete steps that you'd like to see taken by the city to improve their marijuana policies?
Yeah, being a single issue candidate, if I would get to run on, let's say, cannabis free, I probably would. So I've got to have a bunch of different issues. Pretty important. Economy, of course, the city is dying. The sugar beet factory closed down. All the local, their storefronts along the main street are all in. And so we've got to get some new businesses. And of course, one of those businesses.
I'm sorry, William, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
Of cannabis on that part. Yeah, and then healthy communities. We've got to stop dividing Oregon in all these different ways. And so anyway, community education, communication between the city and the citizens is all just language. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to bring to the city council. And with that, they opted out. And basically, when you have no control, it's just out of control. And the city basically is awash in cannabis. It's where it should be, where it shouldn't be, where you probably should want it to be, probably what it really shouldn't be. And it's all untaxed, unlicensed, unregulated, nothing coming into the city. So I'm saying, you're not going to increase, you're not going to decrease. Give them a license, for goodness sake. So anyway, that's the whole upshot of what's happening in Nissa Needs Nance.
All right, Nissa needs Nance because Nissa needs economic development and to come up with some sort of control over the marijuana that's already there. I love how these people think we're going to legalize marijuana and suddenly there'll be pot smokers. All right.
Well, if you just think about it, if you put no control, then it becomes out of control.
Yep.
And that's gladly the situation. But anyway, thanks a lot, Russ, for the chance to give my little spiel and everything.
Absolutely.
Man, we welcome you back anytime to the little garden by the river.
I sure want to check out the harvest, that's for sure. And you've got a Facebook page or a website for Nissa Needs Nance?
I certainly do now, and it is William Nance, and I'm the kind of terrorist-looking guy with a little mustache. It's an old 1970s passport picture. And on there is a Nissa Needs Nance on the page. Check it out. I'll have my full political platform, and I'd like to engage in conversation because, unlike some people, if you can show me where I need to be, and I'm with you on that part. So look me up. Give me a chat. Doesn't matter if you're in Oregon. I have property on both sides over here. So let's talk.
All right. And give us back to Rob. We'll get the contact for his campaign.
Super. Would you like Ben on now?
Yeah.
For a second?
Yeah. Ben, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Here you go, Ben.
Yeah, Ben Fortner for Ontario City Council.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah, Ben, I just want to give you the chance also to tell folks if you've got a Facebook or a campaign website or anything you want to promote.
Yeah, I'm facebook.com/Ben Fortner City Council.
Ben Fortner City Council. All right, I think we can find that.
Thank you so much, Russ. I really appreciate your time today. That was fun.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for running for office. We need more of our people to get out there and take the reins of this government. We appreciate it.
Yeah, me too, man. It'll be really good. I appreciate what you're doing very much.
All right, thanks so much, and good luck in the election.
All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Great call there on our phone line at 650-LEGAL-MJ. That's exactly the kind of stuff that I've been looking for here as we continue this Toker Talk Radio. You know, when our promos say the voice of the marijuana nation, it really refers to this microphone. It refers to this platform. It is our voice. I'm the one who's talking on it the most, but it's here for all of us. That's part of why I put this together. I wanted us to have our own talk radio, our own place we can converse and learn from each other and correct and discuss these issues. And I appreciate you guys being a part of it. So we'll keep this going. 650-LEGAL-MJ is the phone line. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I'm going to poke some holes in one of the dumbest stoners against legalization talking points that you could possibly imagine. Long story short, if we legalize marijuana, the jails will be full again. Okay. I'm Radical Russ, live here in beautiful legal Potland, Oregon on CannabisRadio.com. This is the Russ Belville Show's Toker Talk Radio. We're here every day, every weekday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Cannabis use isn't the only thing growing. So are we. Grow with us. CannabisRadio.com.
Oh, let the marijuana llama tell you something now about a game for your phone gonna make you say, wow! The game's about the game of growing cannabis for cash. Grow the seed, sell the bud, put the savings in the stash. Little by little, your empire grows large. Put the big celebrities inside your entourage. You can choose to play with Snoop or me or Cheech and Chong, Cypress Hill, Willie Nelson, Wiz Khalifa with a bong. The name of the game is Hemp Inc., that's the point. Download and play while you light yourself a joint. The business of cannabis should be no crime. Hemp Inc. is even hot-proofed by the man who run High Times. Oh yeah? Get it on Android and iOS today. Marijuana llama out. Got to tend to me own crops, you know. Money don't make itself. Hemp Inc.
Tommy Chong is ready to cut through the smoke and change the tone of Tilk Radio.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong. This is Ray Dawn on the other mic.
Yes, the eldest. It was
and
awesome.
We saw, it was called Dying to Know.
It's a love story between Ram Dass and Tim Leary.
Yeah, the gay Jew and Tim.
But he wasn't gay when he was a professor. He didn't know.
Yeah, that must have been a shock to his wife.
The one time he, met a vagina.
The Tommy Chong Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome to my world.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Your grapefruits are no match for my Trump Towers.
Okay, maybe you're high, too.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
Hello, Mr. Man. Hi. I'm working. I'm sorry. No food till this is done. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Sorry for the delay there. Welcome back, everyone. 38 after the hour. I had to type up a tweet. My latest Twitter war. I went on I spewed out some tweets last night before I went to bed because I had one of these people, these well-meaning, and I want to say they're well-meaning cannabis activists. I mean, and some pretty high-profile ones like Steve D'Angelo. But these well-meaning cannabis activists that want to police our language, that want to come up to you and say, "Don't say marijuana, that's racist. We say cannabis. Marijuana is a racist slang term. It's evil and offensive." So I got one of those people hounding me the other day. And that attitude just really bothers me, right? Look, if you personally think that marijuana is offensive, it's a bad word, and you prefer not to use it instead of cannabis, and you prefer cannabis instead, great. Say cannabis till the cows come home. I don't care. But when you start policing other people's language and telling them what they should or shouldn't say, that bothers me a little bit. And what bothers me even more is when people want to try to tell me that marijuana is a term on par with racial and homophobic slurs, epithets, in level of offense, that they're equal. The saying marijuana is like saying, well, pick one, right? Pick a racial slur. Pick a Washington Redskins. Let's pick that one. It's as offensive as saying Redskins, right? Or whatever. So I actually find that offensive, right? I'm not offended by the word marijuana, but the idea that you think saying the word marijuana is the same level of offense as a racial or homophobic slur, I think is just it's a little drama queen for me. It's a little too much. Primarily for this very important distinction. Racial and homophobic slurs are attack words meant to demean, demonize, and disparage people for who they are. People for who they are. Marijuana is a term that describes a plant or part of a plant. Marijuana cannot be offended. Like, marijuana cannot take offense at what it is being called. It is a plant. So anyway, I made a few of these points yesterday on Twitter, and so I got up this morning. Of course, I'm getting all these responses from people, and that are basically saying you should call it cannabis. So one of my points here is that marijuana is a perfectly decent term that in and of itself is not offensive. It's a Mexican slang term like, I don't know, taco or chimichanga or whatever. It's just a word, okay? Now, the tweet that I got that made me a little bit late here was a guy that said, it was Vapor Domain, who says, the word marijuana was introduced in anti-cannabis debates in the 1930s to make it sound foreign. And this is where the people who take offense at marijuana rest their case, is that in the 30s, everyone knew what cannabis was. Everybody knew what hemp was. But to scare people, they used the demonization of Mexican immigrants after the, and the aftermath of the Mexican Civil War and all, and the Pancho Villa and the idea that they're smoking their loco weed and going crazy. So they took all of that and used the marijuana to evoke that fear of the other, that xenophobia, that racism, to make people fear the plant by ascribing all the things they fear about those darn Mexicans. That, to me, does not equate to marijuana being a racist term. What it equates to me is a bunch of racists or prohibitionists or control freaks or whatever you want to call Anslinger and his ilk used marijuana, the word marijuana, as a propaganda tactic, as a scare tactic. But that doesn't make the word marijuana itself connote evil or bad or offense. Now, another response I got to it was a guy who's a military psyops guy, who's an expert, he tells me, in this kind of stuff. He says that words matter, and the problem with marijuana is that it evokes and connotes crime and slacker and loser and all the bad stereotypes of marijuana users. And to that, I would say, that doesn't exist with marijuana, though. That exists with the stereotype of marijuana users. And similarly, the word gay used to have all sorts of negative connotations. Gay was an offensive thing until the gay community took that word back and refused to accept the stereotypes and shaming that were being attempted to be conveyed through the use of the word gay. And I think we've done that with marijuana. Now, this argument about, well, the negative connotations and the Cheech and Chong and the slacker loser stereotypes, all of those things being associated with the word marijuana as an argument not to use it might have been a more powerful argument in 1980 or even 1990 or for that matter 2000. But now, with marijuana legalized in 4 states, about to be legalized in 5 more, and the last 10 national polls showing greater than 50% support for marijuana legalization, and the last few polls showing people clearly understand that marijuana is safer than alcohol, I think we've gotten marijuana to the point where it has outgrown much of its negative stigma. And in that context, I feel in the context of all the change and acceptance that has come about in marijuana reform, combined with the fact that in America, people know this thing as marijuana. Now, I got another response from someone across the pond. So I got some British listeners that said, well, it's always been cannabis over here and it always will be cannabis. Yes. And you guys say aluminium. Things are different in the Queen's English. I understand that. And if this were a talk in the UK, I would abandon the word marijuana because nobody in the UK knows it by that. Or, I mean, they do, but that's not the way they refer to it. But here in America, that's what we refer to it as, marijuana. That's the popularly understood term. And the Google searches will confirm that. You get 10 times the hits for marijuana than you do for cannabis. So when you have a situation where the majority is beginning to accept this, and the vast majority knows that it's called marijuana, when you step out as one of these, don't say marijuana, we say cannabis, marijuana is racist, you accomplish a couple of things. Number one, you get people who know damn well that it's marijuana looking at you going, what are you trying to hide? What are you ashamed of? What are you fig leafing? You end up sounding like one of those guys who's, I'm not a janitor, I'm a custodial sanitation engineer. It's euphemizing. And there's a point with framing where you want to pick your own frames and convey your messages the right way. But there's also a point where if it's too obvious, it looks like you're trying to be shady. You're trying to hide something. You're trying to confuse or obfuscate the issue. Now, I like the word marijuana because there's a little more precision in the word marijuana, right? Cannabis is the scientific name of the plant species. Cannabis sativa L. Okay. That refers to all of it, folks. That's the seeds, that's the root ball, that's the stalk, that's the leaves, that's the flowers. All of it is cannabis. And so, yeah, I could say that I smoke cannabis. I could say that. But it would linguistically be a little bit like saying I eat cow and drink ethanol. I mean, those are technically correct. I do eat cow and I do drink ethanol. But aren't the people around me going to think I'm some sort of snooty, $5 word guy if I talk like that rather than saying, hey, I like a steak and a beer? Yes, words matter, and part of why words matter is because they're commonly accepted by the people that use them. I no more smoke cannabis than I eat cow. Marijuana is a perfectly decent term that refers to the dried flowering tops of cannabis plants, usually seedless, prepared for smoking. That's marijuana. So, in some cases, it's a more accurate term. And there's nothing wrong with using it. Another case where it's a more accurate term is when you're talking about reforming the laws. Because on the books, the law uses the word marijuana. Now, that's changing in some respects, like in California, where they passed the Medical Marijuana Safety Act, or whatever it's called. And they've now changed it to the Medical Cannabis Safety Act. You got the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board. And that's good. Because those entities are regulating the entire plant, cannabis, right? I can't get around. I just seems like fig leafing to me. It just activates that little George Carlin circuit in my head. I just can't stop thinking about his routine where he talks about how shell shock became post-traumatic stress disorder. It's the same idea. It just feels like fig leafing. There's a lot of opinions on that, but anyway, that's from the Twitter thing. Let me get back to the Stoners Against Legalization because I want to make sure I get to this today. Didn't want to forget this because this cracked me up. You get these memes that come across on your Facebook feed, which is usually someone takes a picture. It's usually a pre-made picture, and the impact font on the top and the bottom, right? So the one that came across my feed the other day is this little kid who's kind of squinting, And the text of it says, more than 6 plants or 28.6 grams a crime? The jails will be full again with Prop 64. And this is the kind of thinking that dominates the Stoners Against Legalization. That somehow if we legalize X amount, then there'll be more arrests for people caught with X plus 1 amount. Never mind that the people with the legal amounts who used to get busted won't be getting busted anymore. And never mind that ending the contraband nature of cannabis means no more drug-sniffing dogs for marijuana, and it means a lot of the probable causes that cops have to start investigating you for marijuana goes away. In Colorado, 4 out of 5 charges disappeared. In Washington, 2 out of 3 charges disappeared. All charges for marijuana after legalization.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
We don't limit how much you smoke, and we don't limit where you listen. Cannabis Radio is now on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio.
While the feds and state are doing their dance, you still need to transact business and manage your cash. Go professional and let your customers pay with PayQuick. They pay you and they earn rewards points. PayQuick connects to your bank account for free and secures all of your transactions. And with PayQuick, you can pay your producers and processors for free. Plus, it pays to have it because it makes depositing your cash safe and so easy. No cops, no crooks, just compliance and comfort, knowing you have your cannabis business in check with PayQuick. PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQuick.com.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Okay, maybe you're high, too.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's 54 after the hour, just closing up shop here at the Russ Belville Show, but reminding you that we got great guests coming up. Tomorrow, we've got our inaugural edition of Cultivators Corner with Jorge Cervantes, one of the legendary cannabis growers, author of numerous grow books, and we'll have our live phone lines open. So you want to ask a grow question to a bona fide grow expert, tomorrow is your opportunity on Cultivators Corner with Jorge Cervantes. And thanks to marijuanagrowing.com as well. And we'll be doing that every other Thursday. So it'll either be Jorge one day, and then it'll be a cop next week, and then Jorge the next day, and then Leap the next week, and so on. And also, we've got another guest calling in at 3:45 tomorrow, Jeffrey Clayton, who is the policy director of the American Bail Coalition. Interesting case going on in the 11th Circuit. that is trying to determine whether or not cash bail is constitutional. And given the recent story we heard of the man who was busted for smoking pot in his own home, and then he got warrants out for him, and then he went to jail, couldn't afford $100 bail, had a seizure in jail, and died. This is a case of big import, and it addresses a very interesting point, and that is with cash bail. Remember, people that are bailing out of jail are still innocent. They're innocent until proven guilty. They've just been charged with something, but they haven't gone to court or anything. And if you can't make bail, you got to stay in that jail until your arraignment, which could be weeks, and then you lose your job and all sorts of problems happen. And the system we have now with cash bail means that, hey, if you're have some means, if you're middle class or rich, you just make a phone call and get some money, pay a bondsman, you're out of jail. But if you're poor and you can't afford that $100 for the bail, you stay in jail and your life gets progressively worse because you lose your job and all the other attendant problems of being in jail. Well, Jeffrey's going to come on the show. He's with the American Bail Coalition, and he wants to defend cash bail. He's saying that without cash bail, people wouldn't show up to their court dates. So we're going to talk about that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's tomorrow's show. And then, oh my goodness, Friday. What a great show on Friday. We've got our marijuana election night preview. We're going to try to get Kayvon Kalatbari from Denver Relief Consulting on the line to talk about that Denver social use initiative, where they could have not only pot lounges, but pot events and pot yoga and, well, basically any place that would want to allow pot, if the neighborhood approves it, you could do it. So we'll cover that on Friday. And then at 3:45 on Friday, we begin our extended interview. We're going to run till 4:20 with Governor Jesse Ventura, the former governor of Minnesota, the former professional wrestler known as The Body, author, actor, and all-around political talking head. Governor Jesse Ventura on Friday will be talking about his new book, Marijuana Manifesto, and his thoughts as one of the most successful third-party candidates in American history on the chances of the current third-party candidates in the presidential race. But that's all the time we got for today's show. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more news, views, and interviews you can use for the cannabis community. For everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ, live from beautiful legal Potland, Oregon. Talk to you tomorrow. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down.